Hi, this is Community Builders, the podcast where we get to know some of the big decision makers in our community. I am thrilled to be here today with Chief of Chico Police, Chief Aldridge. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's start with like a 30,000-foot bird's eye view question.
Okay.
What does a chief of police do?
Jack of all trades, master of none is the saying,
Yeah.
But it's a very important job in the community, and a lot of people look to you for making sure that they have a safe community, and that's your number one priority is making sure that we have the resources in place, deploying them right, so that we have a safe community. And beyond that, it's just the logistical parts of how you keep your department running effectively, efficiently, financially, responsible, and from there dealing with any of the other issues that pop up. But I think our number one goal or number one responsibility as a chief of police is to make sure that we have a safe community, and that's what we try to do here in Chico.
Tell me a little bit about how a police department is structured. And this is like a educating myself thing because I just
That's a
don't
good
know.
question. Good question. A lot of people don't understand the structure of a police department, and every police department's different.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of it, in terms of staffing, your population, and things of that nature. But here in Chico, we have, from the chief, below the chief, you have two captains.
Okay.
Each captain runs a division within the police department. There's the operations division, and then there's the support division. And then under each of those, there's lieutenants, and those lieutenants run units.
Gotcha.
And so in the police department, we have 7 lieutenants. Those 7 lieutenants, you have 4 of those that are patrol watch commanders. So they work, Monday through Sunday, and they work, with their respective patrol teams. They're like the managers that are out there in the field at all times. So when we have a big incident that pops off, they become the incident commanders. They deal with any of the other issues that come up that need to be dealt with from the management level. And each of them typically runs 3 to 4 patrol teams. So we have 8 patrol teams that those 4 watch commanders will oversee. Then we have a lieutenant assigned to our investigations bureau, the manager over that unit, and then 1 lieutenant who runs our records evidence and dispatch center, and then 1 lieutenant who is our administrative lieutenant. So handles like all of our recruiting, hiring, training, our internal affairs unit, where we investigate complaints and things of that nature against staff, any of the staff. It doesn't just have to be police officers. It can be any of the professional staff also. And then below those folks, we have sergeants, and I believe we have 17 sergeants. Okay. And across the board, the 8 patrol teams, we have 4 in our investigations bureau, 1 in our traffic unit, 1 that runs our professional standards unit doing the internal affairs stuff. And then we have, we have others that do ancillary things, such as 1 position we have where we're trying to create this program of community service officers that become patrol specialists. They handle non-priority calls, so you oversee them. And then below that, you have all your patrol officers, your investigators, your dispatchers, records evidence, animal control. So it's quite the breakdown as you come from the top. It starts to kind of spread out into a pyramid effect, right?
Yeah.
We are very structured in a way that everything gets kind of pushed up into layers, right? And then if it's something that needs to make it all the way to the top, then it comes to me through the captains. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say that my boss is the city manager. And so I report directly to the city manager. City manager reports directly to city council.
Gotcha. So that was already so enlightening for me. So it goes, let me see if I can repeat that. Sergeants, lieutenants, captains, chief.
Yep.
That's the hierarchy. And how many total folks under your supervision do we have?
Yeah, with all of our units, when we're fully staffed, and then with our volunteer staff that we have, it's roughly 220 people.
Wow. And is that the number you want, or are you looking for more?
Yeah, so right now we're authorized 109 peace officer positions. That includes the 3 park ranger positions that we have. We've been pushing to grow the police department because nationally, you should be about that 2.1 to 2.5 police officers per 10,000 people of your community. And so roughly, you would need 170 cops if you were to meet that number. And so actually I said 10,000, it's 1,000 per 1,000. So if you have 100,000 people in your city and it's 2 cops per 1,000, then you would need 200 cops, right?
Yeah.
So we've been pushing for that. The city manager's been super supportive of trying to get us the growth that we need to provide the services to this community. That's just police officers. Anytime you add police officers, you have to have support staff. And, the police officers' reports don't get processed without records technicians. We don't get sent to calls without dispatch staffing.
Yeah.
And so every time we add police officers, we have to look at how does this affect the support staff's ability to provide the service to us.
Without
the
being
sworn
spread
police
too
officers.
thin. Right.
Without overloading the work.
Right.
Right. The fair share and equity of work is very important to me because if you start overloading people, then the level of work goes down, the quality of it, right? And because they're simply trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And I want to keep that quality of work high.
Yeah.
But then you also have to think about the morale of your department.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite the
it's multi-layered. Yeah.
Multi-layered, juggling approach of how do you add more here when you don't have enough here, and so it's give and take.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act. But the most important thing is that we have a city manager who supports this police department. We have a city council who is supporting this police department and have helped us get back to where we are today since I took over as chief of police. And so I just want to make sure that I express my gratitude to my boss and to our city council and to our community who supports us.
That's amazing to hear. That's a lot of people
that
you are juggling, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, it's a lot of cats to herd. What's your philosophy? How do you deal with that level of complexity? I'm sure you don't, go minute by minute meetings with all these folks.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing you have to do is rely on your staff, right?
Yeah.
You have to have confidence that your staff are handling it right. You have to have confidence that when you delegate work down, that you're also delegating that ability to make decisions with it. And so for me, I have zero concerns when I push work down to the staff, meaning typically I only push work down to my captains. Mm-hmm. And both my captains are very professional, very knowledgeable, very confident in their abilities to do their job. So there's no way I could keep up if I try to do everything myself. So I have to find those things where I can delegate down to those captains. And even the captains will say, okay, this is actually something I can delegate down to the lieutenants because their plates are full. So, it's just making sure that you've got people in place that help you do your job, help you provide, that service back to the community in a way that you don't have to worry about their level of work. And for me, I'm very confident in our staff's ability to do the work. I can push just about anything down and, give a timeline and say, this is when I need it. And typically it shows up on my desk magically with an answer,
Yes.
It's a pretty amazing staff. And I feel honored to be the chief there.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We just wanted to let you know that we record right here in downtown Chico. And you can too. Email us and we'll hit you up for a quick conversation and a free consultation. Now, back to the episode.
Tell me a little bit about what the process is for working your way up to police chief or to, from going from patrol to sergeant or anything like that. Is it apply with experience? Do you need a certain amount of years on the job?
Yeah. So, everybody starts out, or every chief has started out as an officer or a deputy.
Okay.
And you start working your career based on your goals. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I had nearly 8 years in the military. So I came with a lot of supervisory and leadership experience, some management experience. And so when I came into law enforcement, my initial focus was I need to learn how to do the job. How do you become a police officer? How do you become a deputy? Since I started out as a deputy sheriff at Butte County, my goal was I need to learn how to do this job as best as I can. And so I really immersed myself in learning as much as I possibly could to make myself as best as I could. And then I started realizing, wait a minute, what are my goals? And I didn't even know, this is interesting. I didn't even know I had a retirement through PERS until I had already been a deputy for nearly 3 years. Someone said, hey, how many years do you have in PERS? And I said, well, what is PERS? Public Employees Retirement System. And so for me, it was like, it wasn't about the money, right?
Yeah.
I had no concern about the money. Of course, you have to make money to survive, and I want to provide for my family.
Sure.
But for me, I really wanted to, come into a career that provided a challenge. And, so for me, I needed something that was challenging, something that was different every day, something that had structure, something that had rules. It was what I was used to.
Yeah. Right.
And so this kind of fit the bill, and I had to talk my wife into letting me do it, and she agreed to it. And, but, I came into this career, and I immersed myself in learning how to be a good deputy sheriff at the time.
Yeah.
And then I realized, wait a minute, I think I need to start looking at this a little different if I have some goals, right? So I said, I think a police department is actually a better fit for me. And I had some friends over at the Chico Police Department who were actively trying to get me over, saying, hey, we really want you to come over. My father-in-law retired from the police department after, 30 plus years as a dispatch supervisor, and was always telling me, you should be a police officer. You really fit into the city.
Oh, that's great.
Personality fits that. So I applied, I came over as a police officer, and then again, I kind of started over, right? Because it's a whole different type of law enforcement. So I realized, okay, I need to start planning my future out, my career out, how this looks. And, then I said, okay, what experience and exposures do I have to help me be successful for that? And so I look back, it's like, my time in the military really taught me a lot of really good skill sets. And so I just started kind of molding my way into, okay, I need to start acting like a sergeant now as an officer. So I would try to make my decisions as an officer the way a sergeant would make them. And then when I became a sergeant, I said, okay, I need to start making decisions the way a lieutenant would make them. And so I was always thinking about the next level ahead of me, right, in terms of how they would make a decision, how they would carry themselves, how they would provide some sort of service back to the community or the organization, how they would be a leader in the organization and the community. And so ultimately, I got to where it was time to be a chief, and it was like, do I want to be a chief? And for me, it wasn't about, wearing these shiny stars or being called chief. For me, it was about being in that role where I knew that I could help make a difference in terms of rebuilding that organization, building community trust, transparency, providing quality customer service by doing the right thing the right way every single time. I just knew that was my skill set. And quite frankly, I felt like I worked really well with the overall city staff, and that I had a good relationship with our community. And so it helped me kind of fit right into the role.
I think that, so there's a few things there that generally I think are just great life advice, right? To think about how the next position above you would make decisions and use that as your way of solving problems before they're your problems so that you can be seen as the person to be put in that position. I think that's so true. That's true in my industry. It's true,
you can use it in any job.
Exactly. I also think that there's a lot to be said about the mention of being able to work with the city council. That is a huge skill, right? That's not as easy as it sounds.
Definitely not.
Personalities and like the city council is changing often, right? And so you're new people every couple of years, and you're having to make relationships with those folks and figure out how, they're going to support you or not, or what that will look like. That is something we obviously should want in a chief of police, right? That makes a lot of sense. In addition to you not pursuing it for the money, the title, the stars, the accolades, like that's the kind of thing that makes you right for that position. Tell me a little bit about the kind of policing Chico does, and what are some challenges that the department's facing right now?
Sure. So, this is a big college city. I mean, we've got a very large, university here. We've got other smaller ones. We have a big community college. We have, just a lot of things around this area that involve students.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of, high schools, middle schools, elementary. And so, this community is really centered around how do we police in a way that makes it safe for not only everyone who lives here every single day, but how does it make it safe for students to want to come to our community, right? So our partnership with the university is very important in that if we aren't providing a safe community, they can't increase their enrollment, right? And so if they don't increase their enrollment or keep their numbers up, that has a direct impact on our economic driver for the community. And let's face it, the city is a for-profit business. If the city's not making money through tax revenue, then services don't get pushed down to our community. So you start cutting services as your budget starts to dwindle. And so for me, that's important, right? I need to make sure that we are providing that service to not only everyone in our community, but especially for the economic drivers in our community. So big businesses in town, we want to make sure that they are keeping their service here in our community. We've got so many large businesses in this city that are huge economic drivers for us. And so I want to make sure that our services are in line with keeping those businesses in our community, students in our community, and also the mom and pop stores. We need them too. They're just as important as the bigger businesses, because those people are people that live here every single day. Those are community members that are going to be here no matter what, right? And so I want to make sure that they are able to keep their businesses going and are making money. They have to make money, and in order to do that, we have to make it safe for our community members to want to come downtown or on the outlying areas where other businesses are, and feel safe to just go and have fun with their family and shop and enjoy the community. So
thank you for the nod to small businesses. We very much appreciate that. I'm of the same mindset. I think that stuff is so important to this community thriving. How long have you been with the Chico Police Department?
So I'm just coming up on 21 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was over at the sheriff's office for a little under 4 years. So I'm at that 25-year window right now is kind of the window I'm in. Coming up in September, it'll be 25 years in the job for me.
Have you seen a lot of changes in this time, and what can you talk to me about?
So there's so many changes that have happened in many different areas in my time in law enforcement. I used to laugh when I'd hear the old timers say, it was much different in my time, son. And I'm like, be quiet, old man.
It happened so fast, and now I'm the old man.
But I never thought for a minute, 25 years later after starting, nearly 25 years later after starting, that I'd be the one saying the same thing back to the young guys and gals starting in this job. But it's so true, right? This is a ever evolving career. Not only is it evolving through the changes in the penal code or the vehicle code, the legislature pushes down changes that we have to operationalize in the job. The community changes. City leadership changes. Like you said, we get different council members, and they all have different perspectives on how they want things. And, so it changes, it changes almost all the time, right? Every year we get some sort of new legislative change or, some technology change every year that causes us to do things better. Or sometimes it puts a damper on the way we do things.
Interesting.
But this job changes so much. And that's, if you remember what I said, why I came into this job was something that challenges me. So the change, right? Change is hard for people. I think change is good when it's needed. Right? And so that's kind of my perspective on how do we accept it. Well, as long as it's a change that's needed, then we need to see maybe it's a better way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
If you find yourself saying, why do we do that? Well, because we've always done it that way. Then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's time to challenge it.
Yeah. What are the common kinds of calls the police department gets in Chico? Is it, I would assume it's different than, bigger cities or cities that are very different than this, but 110,000 people, mostly students, or like 1 in 4 is a student, with no town this size for like an hour in every direction. What kind of calls do you find yourselves fielding?
It's a very unique community in that we are an island, right? We're an hour away from really anything big like ourselves, hour and a half. And so it tends to keep everybody here. And our population growth that we've had definitely causes our call volume to go up. And, locally, we see quite a bit of calls. I mean, our dispatch center will take in 200,000 calls a year, phone calls into the center. Our officers will be on scene, in 50,000 calls a year.
Wow.
And so, and then that's across the board with all types of calls. But, we just had a meeting with the law enforcement administrators meeting. We do that every other month. And that's all the chiefs, the sheriff, the district attorney, some other outside agencies, state, federal. So we all come together and we talk about challenges or changes and things of that nature. But one thing that the district attorney just brought up was how we've seen from 2015 to where we're at today. I'm sorry, was it 2015? Yeah, I believe it was it was 2008, I believe. Okay. In 2008, starting in 2008 to where we're at today, we've had like a 300% increase in domestic violence cases. And so I was talking with one of the captains this morning and said, hey, give me your perspective on this. What do you think has changed? And, so we came up with all kinds of theories. You never know, but it's a theory. And I think that it's a plausible theory and some things we're going to look at because obviously domestic violence is one of those things we take absolutely serious. Unfortunately, in the last, year and a half, we've had 2 domestic violence, murder, suicides. And that's not acceptable. Domestic violence in itself is not acceptable.
Thank you. Absolutely.
None at all. We've always had a great relationship with Catalyst, who helps out victims of domestic violence. But that's our number one, for me, that's a very important call that we handle, and we have to handle it right every single time. There's all kinds of laws surrounding how we are mandated to handle those. But, so I think that one is of note that I wanted to really highlight because the district attorney just pointed it out. Other things, we have a lot of traffic accidents around the city of Chico. We have a lot of, theft issues. We used to have, this is interesting, when I first started, we used to have a lot of violent crime in the student living area by the college. And, we'd have those large parties outside and something would go south and someone would get stabbed or shot or hit with a bottle. But over the years, it's changed. And I recently was talking with someone about how it's changed over the years. And I said, for me, it's interesting because you can see the generational changes out there as students come in. A new crop of freshmen come in, right? And you're like, okay, how are these going to act? And so over the years, it was kind of this roller coaster, and you'd have students who'd come in and they would be completely disrespectful. And we'd have to deal with the judicial affairs over at the college. And, unfortunately, some of those students would be removed, but and then, the next year they would come in and be super respectful. And so it kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. And then, the violent crime was there, but it's starting really to drastically change course. We used to have a special patrol team just for the college town. And over the last, 4 years, we haven't needed it. We took it away and just dispersed those officers amongst other patrol teams and created more service for everyone in the community, not just one side of the community. But We obviously deal with a lot of unhoused individuals. And we have our target team who deals with the Warren v. Chico settlement agreement.
Yeah.
And so that a lot of those calls come in, but they get routed to the target team because they're the true professionals who know how to deal with that settlement, who've built relationships with these unhoused people, built relationships with the service providers, and try to solve those problems, through service providers. Our goal has never been to make it illegal to be homeless. It's not. Some people choose to be homeless, some people don't.
Right.
And so that team really surgically goes in and decides how to get best route these folks for services. But overall, the city's got just a plethora of diverse calls, and you name it, everything from civil issues where it's a non-criminal thing, all the way up to homicides in the city. So we've been across the board. We always have been across the board, and the call volume never stops. It just keeps growing.
I thought what you said about the unhoused population was super significant. I think that people don't realize a lot of those things. I think that you making a point to say, I don't want to make it illegal to be homeless. That's punishing someone who's already going through something. What do you think are some misconceptions about that? Because, what I hear from you is so different than I think what people think is going on.
Yeah, I think some people feel like we're going out and harassing these individuals just because they're unhoused. And I can assure you that we have got much better issues to deal with, put our staffing toward than going out and harassing someone simply because they are, on a low point in their life or need some help. I would much rather those folks simply get the services they need, and we not even have to deal with it. It's not a crime to be homeless. Yeah. There's vagrant behavior that comes from a lot of these individuals that does, rise to the level of criminal activity, and we have to deal with that, and we do. But I would tell you that we have our perspective on it is compassion over making it criminal, right? We want to provide a compassionate service to these folks, and everything we do when it comes to dealing with anyone that's unhoused, number one is how do we be compassionate to the moment this person's in? Yeah. How do we help them get out of this cycle if we possibly can? And unfortunately, there's some people that you just can't help, and they don't want your help, and those are the ones that typically are out there committing some sort of crime, whether it's drug use or selling drugs or stealing, and we have to deal with those through the legal system. So, but I would tell you a vast majority of the people we come across in the unhoused population are simply people that need to find the right service, and that's what we try to do.
Wow. That resonates. That tracks with me, and I think that it's excellent that you mentioned Catalyst and that these relationships with these other institutions for populations that maybe you don't need to until it crosses over into actual criminal activity, put in place to help. Who are some organizations you could shout out that work with the unhoused and help?
Yeah, we have a great partnership with the Jesus Center. They actually have the contract to run the Genesis shelter. Yeah, we have a great relationship with the Torres shelter. Yeah, Taylor and her staff over there are amazing. And then we work with getting people through the veterans programs that help the homeless veterans. Salvation Army, many different organizations in town help us find the right fit for people that need services. And so we've never had a bad relationship with any of those service providers. And in a time like this community is seeing with our unhoused, we have to make sure that those relationships stay strong. Yeah. And so we engage with them all the time. I have great relationships with the directors of those places. That's great. And if they need help, they call and we provide them help. If we need something, we can call them and they'll help us. So that's the way it should work.
I completely agree. And it's what you're speaking to, I think makes it's so much sense. It's so complicated and there's so many layers to all of this.
Yeah.
And someone who is able to have these relationships with these directors of these programs to understand a little bit more of the whole picture, that's more the truth of the situation. It's not as simple as, people are good or people are bad. There's always relationships and there's interactivity between these groups. Mm-hmm. What is something you wish people knew that you think that maybe we could talk about?
The one thing that frustrates me is, and not to go to a negative side, but to really point it out. It's unfortunate, but we see other cities and counties giving people bus tickets to come to Chico because we have these services.
Interesting.
And it's increasing our population of unhoused, and it's putting a burden on our service providers that's really meant for people in our area, right? Meaning the Chico, city of Chico, and some of the outlying areas. And Oroville has services for folks down in Oroville. They're doing a great job down there. So our job really up here is to provide services to our community members who are unhoused, and in the outlying areas a little bit of Chico. But when we catch people, and this has happened, we've caught other agencies, law enforcement agencies, bringing unhoused from their areas outside our county and dropping them off here because we have services. And while I am not against providing services to anyone that needs help, I want to see people get help. I want people to get back on their feet, become a productive member in society, be healthy, live a long life, right? I really want to see that. But it's frustrating when we're struggling to keep up with what we have in terms of the unhoused population, and other agencies are bringing them into our city and dropping them off. And I've had discussions with chiefs and sheriffs about this issue, about us catching their staff doing this, and they didn't know what was going on themselves.
Oh, interesting.
And so they've had to deal with it in terms of having some disciplinary processes with their staff for it. But that's very frustrating. And so I oftentimes when I talk to people, I say, it's not just our community members that are here getting our services. It's outlying areas, and it's putting a burden on our service providers. So people need to understand it's when I say these are not all people that are from Chico or the outlyings of Chico. It's because we've caught people being dropped off here. Wow. We have seen people get off the Greyhound bus and ask, where's the pallet shelter, they'll call it, or where do I go camp? And we're like, what are you talking about? And they say, well, I got a bus ticket from this area and they told us to go to Chico. So people are taking what they see as their problem and shifting it up here to Chico, and it's putting a burden on our system. So definitely not something that I appreciate or our city leadership appreciates, and definitely not something that our service providers appreciate because they're already stretched thin.
Right. What's the solution to that? What can be done to curb some of that?
Yeah, it's the $1 million question right now, right? How many billions of dollars have been spent across the state trying to solve homeless problems? And I don't know. I really don't know. I really hope that the change in the law in terms of the expansion of the 5150 criteria. I believe it was SB 43. I can't remember exactly. Where it expanded our ability to place people on welfare and institution hold for things such as severe drug use and ability to make their decisions, healthy decisions based off of those issues that come from severe drug use or mental health issues that normally under the 5150 of the Welfare and Institutions Code wouldn't allow us to place holds on people simply because, they've been diagnosed with a certain health issue.
Interesting.
Now allows us to really expand that out and mandate people get into services. And, the county's working on opening the facility for that. That's a county run program, but all law enforcement has the ability to use this new section. And our staff are getting detailed training on it because it is nuanced. It is very nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when it came out, I was like, "Hey, this is great. This is a great program. It's a great expansion of the law that allows us to deal with these folks who normally we wouldn't be able to deal with." And when I say deal with, that means get them the services and help that they need. And so, just waiting on that service to get open and the training, like I was saying, we are getting our training from Butte County Behavioral Health directly from them.
Wow.
Because this new expansion, if it's done wrong, if you utilize this section wrong, you could quickly find yourself violating someone's Fourth Amendment right, under search and seizure.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that our staff know exactly how to use this to benefit, the overall good of those people out there that need the help and to help relieve the burden on our community.
Well said. Yeah. Did you always want to help? And how did you come to be in this position you are?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your family and childhood. Is this something you've been set up from day one?
No, I was first generation law enforcement in my family.
Wow.
I was your typical, blonde hair, blue eyed American boy growing up in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I played sports. I rode dirt bikes. I was just a typical kid. I didn't do anything crazy. Never even thought about law enforcement. And, so finished high school, went to community college and did a year there and realized, you know what, I just think I'm ready for something else right now.
Yeah.
This just isn't for me. And maybe it was a little bit of the ADHD. It was like, I got to go do something else. But no, I think, I made a decision that, my grandfather had been in World War II. Mm-hmm. He was in the Army. I had two uncles that were in the Army. And then I decided, you know what, I think I want to go in the military. Yeah. And so I started looking and I was in Air Force ROTC when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And I had some really good mentors in that program who had been active duty Air Force. And then as they retired off, they got hired in the school district to run the ROTC program. And I just aspired to kind of be like them. I was like, man, I really think that those were really good guys, not that because they look cool in a uniform or anything, but honestly, as ROTC leaders, they were people that I really appreciated in my life. They were great leaders. Awesome. They always had a positive attitude and always talked professionally and great things about the Air Force. So I was finishing up my last semester in community college, and I said, I'm going to take a look. So I looked into the Air Force, and, in the high school, you have to take what's called your ASVAB test, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. So it basically tells where you are the right fit for a certain job, right? Uh-huh. And you have to score certain things. The Air Force has the highest requirements for ASVAB scores. And luckily, I scored pretty high in this thing in most areas. And so they said, you can take this job here. And so I took a job, and I was a signals intel guy in the Air Force. And so I intercepted Morse code from other countries and pretty interesting. And then
that's really cool.
So after a while, I cross-trained into a logistics job. And, it was great. I did a couple deployments. Yeah. Over into the desert, Europe. And it was really good for me because I had some great leaders who made an impact on me. I had no family members in law enforcement. And so now I have a little cousin who followed in my footsteps, right? So as a first generation law enforcement,
there you go.
I've now seen another family member who looked up to me, and he was very young at the time when I went in and was like, hey, I want to be like you. I want to do that. And so he does that in North Carolina. And, I'm very proud of him. He's a good kid and raised in a good family. So, yeah.
And do you have a family here in Chico?
Yeah, I've been married now for almost 27 years.
Wow.
And so April will be 27 years. I've got two kids. 2 boys. One graduated college in May, graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University as a pilot.
Wow.
And then my youngest son graduated high school a little early in December this last year. Just got accepted into University of Utah. And so family's doing good. And, I got about 20 months left in my career, and or at least that's when I'm eligible to retire. And the wife and I have already started looking at what is it we want to do? Where do we want to go in terms of moving or staying? And, the whole planning thing is starting.
Right.
Yeah, so
20
moving
months.
fast.
That's not too long.
No, it's going to move fast.
How does it feel to be working in public safety in the community your kids live? Because I can imagine that's a big motivator for wanting to keep this a safe and functioning city.
Sure. When I started in law enforcement, I didn't have any kids. We had lived here for about a year before our first kid was born. And, I didn't really think about it in terms of that, right? Initially. But after I had our first kid, I got to think, I was like, you know what? My job is to make sure that my son has a safe community where he can ride his bike down the street and not have to worry about someone trying to steal his bike or someone running him over because there's poor driving in our community. And so for me, I definitely started to change perspectives, right? Becoming a parent changes your perspective in so many forms, but professionally, it definitely changed my perspective in the way I did my job. And then, fast forward 5 years, I had another kid, and it really became more important. So, and then in terms of being involved, it's always interesting hearing my boys talk about their friends knowing their dad was a police officer and how that affected friendships and things of that nature. But, I was highly engaged in my kids' lives through school and volunteered thousands of hours. If there was a field trip coming up, I was always, saying I'm driving because number one, I'm very protective of my kids and someone else driving my kids. I was like, I think I'll do it. But, and then, I knew that kids looked up to me because I was in law enforcement. Anytime any of my boys' kids came over to the house, they always had questions. They were inquisitive and who knows, down the road, some of those boys that came to my house or girls, maybe they'll look back and say, you know what, I really want to be like Matthew or Caden's dad and become a cop because of what they experienced from me. So I don't know, great time to raise kids in this community. And I just hope I had a positive impact on someone's life at some point throughout that.
You absolutely did. You absolutely did. And I think that is the best way to inspire people, is to talk to them, to show them who you are, what you're really doing, to make it real, right? And this isn't like a theoretical job. You are doing this job. And to let them see where your head is at, your philosophy, how much you care and how much you take it seriously, I think that is inspiring. As we sort of wind down here, tell me a little bit about who is the ideal candidate that you want to see applying? Who makes the best cop?
Yeah, it's all across the board in terms of people we test for this job. And for me, I think it's very important that, number one, we have someone who is emotionally intelligent. That is extremely important for this job. Someone that has the ability to control themselves, their emotions about things, someone that can make decisions not based off of any kind of biased opinion. And, I want a diverse workforce. We need a diversity within the organization. And what I mean by that is people from all walks of life. Whether it's, people that were raised poor, someone who was raised wealthy, someone, in all families. I don't care if white, black, Hispanic, Asian, you name it. I don't care. I want diversity throughout the organization based off a person's skill sets, ability to do the job, and come from a different walk of life. It's very interesting. We've hired so many people in the 3 years that I've been the chief there. I start to lose track, right? But one thing that stands out in my mind is the just complete diversity of the people we've hired from all walks of life. people who were college graduates all the way up to people who were professional athletes,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
and everything in between, teachers, ministers, white, black, Hispanic, Asian,
Yeah.
male, female. I mean, we've hired it all, right? And so I think for us as an organization, it's done us well because of the perspective that brings from those employees, the change that it brings from those employees in terms of how people gain knowledge about something they didn't know from a different walk of life. The way our community gets service from that diversity, and that people can relate to these different situations that other people are in. It's just an amazing organization. It's one that I think this community, if they truly, truly wanted to learn about, through like our Citizens Academy, we just started a Citizens Police Academy class that just started last Thursday, but we try to do one a year. We're going to try to do 2 this year.
Where can people find out information about
go to our website, Chico Police website, and look for the volunteers and police services portion in that, or give us a call at, the non-emergency line, 897-4900, and say, hey, I want to talk to someone about that. But, the organization is definitely one that that has someone from every walk of life. And for me as a chief, it makes me feel proud that we have people in the organization that can relate to people in our community and something they're going through, because I think that helps them make good decisions. Again, the emotionally intelligent people are probably the number one most important factor that we want to hire from, and that allows us to deal with our community in a way that we control our emotions and can relate to them.
Thank you for saying all of that. Thank you for just where your head is at with these things. I hearing the importance of diversity, it's eye-opening, understanding that you do want people from all walks of life, because those varied perspectives allow you to make better decisions. Understanding that what you're looking for is emotional intelligence is incredible. Like that's the kind of wisdom that I would love everyone to really hear. Right? When you say those things, if you have a strong sense of justice, if you like being challenged, if you like a job that changes every day, and you're an emotionally intelligent person, please consider it, because that's what we want in our police force. Thank you for being in this community. Thank you for the work that you do, for heading up this department, where I live, where my family lives, for making this place safer. I really appreciate you. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my honor. You're welcome.